And it's very important for us to know the version on which we are working on, and the kind of uh, um, software details. So we have a couple of software details which I'll be just explaining you before we start with the new concept, and then we'll go ahead with the structured data types. Okay, so here we is my voice clear for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Sai. Okay. So we have this is the SAP Easy Access screen. The moment you log in into the SAP system, you'll have SAP Easy Access screen. So one thing that you need to remember here is that for every whenever you log in into the SAP Easy Access screen, we will be having so Easy Access screen. So SAP Easy Access. So when you enter into the Easy Access screen, you have two ways of logging into a particular screen. First is through transaction code, which happens to be a very easy way to do that. So we can log in into the transaction code. We can type the transaction code there, as we have typed say SE38, which happens to be for ABAP editor to write the programs, right? So we can, next thing that we can do is browse, okay, browse and get the date, get that screen. Okay, browse and get. Let's see how do we browse and get it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and see the same SE38. Let's go and check how do we access it. So let's say if you forget this transaction code and you would like to find it out, you can just get into the SAP screen, and here we'll have the tools. In the tools we have ABAP Workbench, and in this we have the development, and in the development we have this ABAP editor. So we can just have this ABAP editor, double click on it. Okay, so you come here into the SE38. So this is what we have, and then we have the other function modules. We have human resources, accounting, logistics, and all. These are all related to the functional transaction codes. So we also I also was telling you about something called S11 transactions. So you can also browse that or type it. So now this is ABAP dictionary. This is ABAP dictionary S11. So if I double click on it, it takes me here. Or we can go from the basic screen and type S11 directly. Okay, it comes into the screen, this screen. Now let's say you have browsed it, but you don't know what is the transaction code. See, you can't see the transaction code here. Okay, so you just say you just double clicked on this and you don't know the transaction code. Okay, which screen are you and what is the transaction code? You just want to know it out of interest, so that like next time you can just browse it and do it. Then what you do is you can go ahead here and see the transaction code here.
Hello, Vikram. I have a doubt. Like, what is ECC then? ECC is a system, right?
Yeah, ECC is a version of the SAP system. Okay,
Okay,
so
what is the version
now
you are using right now?
yeah, I'll tell you that. Okay, so I will tell you that. Now, no matter which screen in SAP you go, we will definitely have two things for sure on every screen on SAP, which happens to be system and help. Okay, so let's say now this is clear, right? How to find out the transaction code, the program name behind this transaction code, all these things are here. Okay, on the right side you can see the transaction code into which you have entered. So even if you're browsing it from there, you can find it out like this. Now the next question I have is, how do we actually find out which version are you working in? So in any of the screens, whether it might be the easy access screen, otherwise it might be any other screen, you can go to system and go for status. So when you go for status in the system, any screen, you can know the details of that particular software. Okay? You can type it from here. The same thing will come, and I'll close it and open it from this one. The server details. I'm talking about the server details will be same. System status. Okay. Now here you can see the version of the software from the product version. I'll come to that product version clear in detail, because once upon a time we used to have details like this, and we will get it. But here we have a lot of details about the product version. We have the installation number, we have the license expiration, and then we have the Unicode. Here we have the host data details, and we have the database data. This is what we have. Okay, so on which database is it working on? Oracle. On which release? 12.1.0.2.0, and name DPK. Host best EHP. Okay, and what is EHP? EHP happens to be enhancement package. Now let's see more in detail about the software. We are just checking out about the operating system, database, and when it was released and all this stuff. Okay, but when it comes to the details product version, if you click on that, you will see on which version are we working. So if you explore here at the basis version, at the ABAP version, so what are the different things that we have here, everything will be given here. Now here, this is not something which we can clearly understand, but install product versions. If you see that in this product, you can see all these things, like what is all installed in this particular system. So we have ERP, we have core CEE, okay, the core CE, and we have all these details. So we have we'll have enterprise resource planning as well. So this HR happens to be HCM happens to be specifically for human resources. So in this way, we have all these details. So we'll have installed software components and installed product versions. These are things from which we can find out what exactly is the version that we have installed. Now going forward, we'll have the other details are very much visible here itself in the main scene. Okay, now going forward, we can access and browse this everywhere. And once you get the access to the system, you can go ahead and study on your own couple of things. Okay, couple of things in the sense what? If I taught you something in the program, SC38, we just normally taught you something. You can browse it and get more details, like for example, ZBA underscore PROG 1238. Okay. Those who have not attended that creation of first program, I'm going to take it later. So, but here, right. Hello world. Now here, this write statement, if you want to know more details about the write statement. Now in this, we have the write statement here. And in this, we have the write output. So you get a lot of details about this work, right in what are the different options that we have. we can actually write the colors. You can explore a lot of things. Okay, let's say you want to write this output. Fine. And you want it to be highlighted in yellow or some other color. So then we can say color 3. We'll have colors from 1 to 7. So when I say color 3, it will be highlighted in yellow color. Now, similarly, we have a lot of other colors as well. So in this way, like we have a lot of things to explore about the simple write statement. So in that way, we can explore that using the F1 function. So how to use the F1 function or something like that, I'll be explaining you once again. So this is an easy way of accessing the program, any transaction code. So at this point of time, you please remember the transaction code as just like a website address. So when you open that, a new screen opens and a new functionality will open. For example, the end users will actually use VA01 for creating the sales order. So this sales order creation is not part of our technical work, but something which is done by the end users. So these are all the transaction codes that we use for test. So this is the documentation that we have. So we can maintain the documentation and all. So fine. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and understand more about a concept. So if you remember in the last session, we discussed about the elementary data types. Okay, so we are going to continue with the structured data types later. But there is one most important concept that I would like to tell you is that if you remember, any one of you, who attended the previous sessions, I said you to click on local object. I said you to click on local object when I said you to click on local object when you come to that pop-up where we have to have the we have to write the program. So there we are just actually clicking on local object and then writing the program there. And the click on local objects. This is what we are trying. But what exactly is the significance of it, and how do we actually take it forward? How do we understand this? So let us understand from the system landscape. Okay, let me tell you a simple scenario. So can any one of you give your name so that I can take the example, a simple example? Can any one of you please give your name?
Sai Pawan.
Sai. Okay. Let's say Sai is doing a online transaction and he is actually transferring some amount to his father through ICICI online transaction. Now, suddenly in the middle of this transaction, the website goes down. Okay, it goes down. And then after the website goes down, he calls the customer care and asks them what exactly is the issue. They say that the ICICI website is under renovation and it will take around 2 months to upgrade it. Now, when they say 2 months, is it acceptable by us, any one of us? Sai, is it acceptable for you?
No.
100% no. Okay, every one of us will say no. How can we accept a transaction to be blocked in the middle of the processing, and your money is already gone from your account and it didn't receive your dad's account, and then they say, you will wait 2 months, you have to wait 2 months for the status. It is not acceptable. And so it's a very serious issue. So when the simple concept is, when business is happening in a server, okay, business server, okay, this business server should not be interrupted for any updations. Okay, let's say you want to do some software updations, you want to write new programs or whatever it might be, it can't be done in the business server. So what has to be happen is, we need to write it in some other server. Now we have database, no, development server. Now forget about the three-tier architecture that we are running. This is development server, this is server, development server. Now this development server is where we are going to work on, and we are going to write programs and all. But the the client will be working on production server or the business server. So business server right now is called production server. Now let's say you have developed something, you'll have enough time, whichever is the planned time, maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or 1 year, whatever is there, you have to develop in the development server. Make sure it's working fine in that. Whatever functionality was expected, it is dead. It's working fine. Then you need to move to the production. But then again, what if it doesn't work in the production after doing it in the development? There might be a chance that in the development server we took only 100 records, but in the production server we took 1 lakh records, and suddenly it goes down. So to avoid that kind of a scenario, they have introduced one more server in the middle. We have something called production server. Okay, so in this testing server, testing team will test it. Whereas like development server will develop everything, and testing server, the testing team will test it. If everything was working fine, then you go ahead with the production server. So production server is where we actually do do the business. Now what happens here is, let's say developments are already always done by a software company. Okay, let's say there is a company like IBM. IBM is a software company. Okay, now here, this all servers have been purchased by BMW. Okay, so now it's something like BMW is a client, and then SAP is the software. It sells the software, and IBM is the implementation partner. Implementation partner in the sense they will be developing all the things which needs to be done by BMW. All these servers will be purchased by BMW, and they will be handed over to IBM until they do the all the implementation project. But then there might be a situation where BMW is not 100% 100% happy with the IBM's testing, because this, remember, development server and testing server will be in the hands of IBM until the implementation is done. Then is this particular company like BMW will have they should be installing another server which happens to be pre-production server, which is an optional one. So we'll have a pre-production server. Called pre. Okay, so pre-production server. Now, in the pre-production server, this is a testing environment for test. This pre-production server is the testing environment for our BMW client. Okay, so from IBM perspective, if we do the development in the development server, move it to the testing server, and once it's been tested there, it is done. Means the work from IBM is done, and we move it to the pre-production server. Whatever programs we write, developments, whatever we done, we'll move to the pre-production server and we'll wait for the client approval. Now, what the client will do is, client will test it in pre-production server and then move it to the production server. This is kind of extra security that the client is doing. The pre-production server will not appear in every project. It will be there only in a very rare number of projects. Okay, so but development, testing, and server are mandatory for every project. Okay, in every project we will have this service. And if you are in an implementation project, means if you have started writing programs and all, you will always be given the access to do that in the development server. None of us will be given access to change any code in the production server, because we need to do it through this channel. We cannot directly go into production and change it, because their business works. So we need to make sure it all works in the production development server. Only then we have to move to the production server. Hope you get this point. Okay, so now this development server or any server will be given a naming convention. Naming convention like let's say we have the naming convention of the server. So we have DVE 100. So DVE 100, in this DVE happens to be the first three letters happens to be the characters, and 100 happens to be a number. And this DVE happens to be the server name. and 100 happens to be the client name. Okay, so the server name happens to be DVE and the client name happens to be 100. Now in this, DVE is the server name and client name is 100. Now when you log in into the system, every time you log in into the system, it will ask you for the client. Client is a partition in the server. So in this development server, we'll again have some partitions called servers. So the moment you try to log in, it will ask you for the, by default, it will give you the client. If you don't want the client, you can change the client, but you should be having the access to it. And first and foremost is that the client has to be present in the server. Okay, so the admin team will create some clients, maybe 800, 810, 820 or something like that, and then they will be doing it like there. Okay. So these servers, this server, in the server, the partition happens to be the client into which we'll be logging in. So whenever we're writing the name, it will be most probably first 3 letters happens to be the characters and the next 3 happens to be the digit. Fine. Okay, so for every server, there will be some naming convention and they will follow different naming conventions for different servers. It all depends. So development server, we have this clients, testing server and pre-production server. This is what we have. Okay, now development server is where we're going to develop or write any code. Okay, and pre-production server, even if you have a login credentials, most probably they'll not be giving the login credentials. Even if they give the login credentials, we need to only we can only display that. You cannot change that or modify that. That's very important. Okay. Now, why all these stories? Because it's very important in the real time, and now is the time for us to understand about the local object. So when you are creating a program, I said just go ahead and type click on local object. I'll tell you later. That's what I told you. Now, if you click on local object, what happens is the program will be stored in development server, but it will never be moved to testing or production server. It doesn't move to the testing and production server. It remains in the development server. Okay, it remains in the development server. It cannot move to the testing and production because it's a local object. Now, what you should do if you have to move it from development to testing and testing to production is you need to assign a package. There is a program, assign a package. In this when we assign a package here, the package name, we need to first create a package. Okay, when we assign a package, it will ask you for a request number. This request number happens to be the key to move it from development to quality to production. If you don't have the request number, you cannot move it quality to production. Clear? I hope this is clear for you. Now, you have to create a package in SEAT. Okay, package. You need to create a package in SEAT. Say something like ZV underscore pack1 or something like that. And this package that we create in SEAT, which I'm going to show you anyways, and you have to save your programs under this. So when you save this program under a package, it will ask you for a request number. So the program request number, so it will ask you for a request number, and when you have this request number, under the request number will have the task number. Now, what is the request number? What is the task number? All these things I will explain you later. Okay, this is just for us to understand that we have some system landscape. This is called system landscape. And how does the system landscape impact our business is what we're trying to understand. Let us understand about the package creation, request number, and all this stuff later. But our primary concept that we want to discuss in this session is about the system landscape. This is called system landscape. Now they will ask you, what is your system landscape? Now, if they ask you system landscape, they're asking you about the, so when they're asking you about the system landscape, it's like something which we have to tell about the different types of servers that we have here: development, quality testing, and production service. Fine. So we are going to talk about more about this in the coming sessions, but this is what I just wanted to tell you in this session, and we'll move ahead and move forward in the next session tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And since I'm sorry for that, that today I had I had a meeting and I had to extend that. But otherwise, I'll be logging in, before the time, and we'll start at 7, and as soon as everyone joins by 7:72, we'll try to start the session. Okay, and I'll start with a quick recap tomorrow, and about the data types as well. A quick recap about the data types as well, and then we'll go for the structured data types is what we'll discuss in the tomorrow session. And those who have not attended any of the sessions in the past, who have missed the sessions, I'm just uploading them into the drive and sharing it to you. I think we have all the mail IDs. I'll do it in a couple of minutes now.
Yeah, thank you, Vikram.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With that,